Two familiar foes are surging to begin the regular season. Today might serve as the best measuring stick yet. A grudge match of last year's ODAC women's soccer semifinal has fallen upon us at Schellenberger Field. It's the Virginia Wesleyan Marlins taking on the Lynchburg Hornets. Hi, everybody. Evan Gates and Kevin Nestor coming to you live on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. And, Kevin, these are two teams that are poised to make another run at the postseason. 8 wins apiece so far to start the year, and both of them sporting win streaks of at least 3 games.
Yeah, these are two heavyweights in the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, but it goes beyond that. Both of these schools are looking to make a heavy push into the NCAA tournament, and they have the firepower to do it.
And these are two teams that have perennially been in that conversation. Virginia Wesleyan that made it 3 straight years until last season when they were bounced in the ODAC championship by WNL. But Lynchburg didn't get there. They lost to this Virginia Wesleyan squad 3-2 at home in the postseason, that semifinal round, and they had a 2-0 lead at halftime of that game. So maybe a little bit of emotions in the picture. We'll have to wait and see. But let's take a look at some of the team's stats, and unfortunately, they won't tell you much about these two opponents other than the fact they are very similar and very dominant.
Yeah, both of these schools, you look at every stat, really, and they're almost the exact same. It's like flipping a quarter over just to see the other side of it's almost the exact same. Both of these schools, like you mentioned, they have similar shots on goal, similar goals scored per game. It's going to be a heavyweight battle. It's going to be fun to see which team can step up and etch away with this one.
Well, in talking to Coach Todd Olson before the game, he said it's going to come down to whoever can finish better in this game. So many departments are similar, and this Lynchburg team is going to be led by number 7, Morgan Oliver, who is the reigning ODAC Player of the Week, the first selection for Lynchburg this year. She has scored in 6 of her last 7 games, just on a tear, and in 4 consecutive.
Yeah, she has just been an absolute staple for this Hornet squad. You talk about some of the veterans they lost last year. She's returning, and she's been a massive piece so far on this young season, and now they head into ODAC play. They're going to need to see a lot from her.
A new position in the mix has really helped her as well, doing more of the attacking work from the outside. But this Virginia Wesleyan team has a strong attack of their own, and Cheyenne Diaz has been one of the mainstays in the starting lineup in the last few years, a 2-time ODAC first-teamer to begin her career with the Marlins with 13 goals in her first 2 seasons each. Now she is back on a similar run and looking to make some noise.
Yeah, again, just a staple piece to a really good team. Whenever you look at what she's done in her tenure at Virginia Wesleyan, she's just been incredibly consistent and consistently great.
And you think about this Virginia Wesleyan team having all the pieces to make another postseason run. But as you see on your screen, 7 goals and 2 assists. She's already eclipsed that lead from last year where she had 6 goals and led the Marlins in that category. It was truly a committee effort offensively, and everybody pitched in. This year looking a little bit different. And by the way, Kevin, 8 goals from Morgan Oliver is just 2 off of Lynchburg's leader last year, Madeline Boyce, with 10. So my question to you before this game starts, we mentioned that offense is going to be a big piece of the puzzle, but how early in this game are we going to see a difference between these two teams?
I'm not so sure that we will. I mean, you saw on the stats how close they are, but I do think whichever team can get out and run faster is going to have the advantage here. For Lynchburg, they've been really, really good in the second half. We've kind of noted them as a second-half team, but if they can come out here and kind of stick it to Virginia Wesleyan in the first 15 or so minutes, that's going to be the key, and vice versa. Virginia Wesleyan, they've got to come out, obviously a long road trip from the beach to come into here. It's going to be fun to see which team can come out swinging and if that can stabilize as the game goes on.
That long road trip is the reason we're starting at 6 o'clock today, and this one has all the makings of a thriller in the middle of October. Lynchburg and Virginia Wesleyan, 2 of the top 3 teams in the conference, going to go at it in a few minutes. We'll be back momentarily on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network.
defense, number 21, Paige Bissell. On defense, number 23, Alex Ortega. At forward, number 33, Cheyenne Diaz. And between the pipes, number 0, Ali Greco. And now, let's meet the starting lineups for your Lynchburg Hornets. A freshman midfielder from Apex, North Carolina, number 4, Lou Dan Hartzell. A junior midfielder from Powhatan, Virginia, number 7, Morgan Oliver. A freshman forward from Charlottesville, Virginia, number 9, Michaela Arco. A sophomore midfielder, Ashland, Virginia, number 11, Ava Olsen. A senior forward from Newport News, Virginia, number 13, Zoe Villarreal. A senior midfielder from Lynchburg, Virginia, number 15, Maddie Olsen. A junior midfielder from Winston-Salem, Maryland, number 16, Lauren Horner. A sophomore midfielder from Albany, Virginia, number 18, Savvy Rockstead. A senior forward from Mount Airy, Maryland, number 24, Natalie Boyce. A freshman midfielder from Stafford, Virginia, number 20, Ella Fulmer. A senior from Virginia Beach, Virginia, number 1, Kate Shepherd. The head coach of the Hornets is Dr. Todd Olson. Associate head coach is Natalie Beasley, and assistant coaches are Reynoldo Ramos.
A warm welcome back in the Hill City, and before we get things underway between Lynchburg and Virginia Wesleyan, let's go ahead and take a look at the ODAC standings as we speak. It is still very early in conference play, but you can tell right away these two teams situated near the top of the table. And for Lynchburg, this feels like a big measuring stick, Kevin. They've played a lot of opponents and won a lot of games they were supposed to come into the year. Now you got to handle business against the conference foes.
Yeah, and when you look at their out-of-conference schedule, that's kind of what they built their identity to be. They wanted to challenge themselves early in the season so that whenever they get to this point in conference play, they know what their identity is, they know what they're good at, and how they can handle the sort of adversity that comes with them. But when you look at that chart right there, I mean, this is as close to a heavyweight battle as you're going to get.
For sure. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the starters. We'll read them to you as we get ready for the action on the field. Lynchburg, a team that will start with a very familiar back line and a lot of youth that they've been sporting throughout the year. Lunden Hartog, a name that will be very important throughout this regular season into the postseason. Sammy Rogstad back there with Zoe Villarreal and Ella Fulmer as well. The midfield and the attack consists of Madeline Boyce, Lauren Orner, Maddie Olson, Ava Olson, Michaela Hargrove, and Morgan Oliver, the ODAC Player of the Week. Kate Shepard is between the pipes for Lynchburg. And Kevin, as opposed to a Marlins squad that likes to go with several starters throughout the year, by the way, 20 different Marlins have already earned a start this year, they keep their lineup pretty steady.
Yeah, it's a very steady lineup, but like you said, they're kind of doing it by committee. And you wouldn't believe that with the player to watch that we had, how efficient she has been. Cheyenne, she has been a killer for this team, and it makes it kind of contradict what we're saying about doing it by committee. But when you look at their starting lineup and how many different starters they had, they've definitely been a committee-based team.
Cheyenne Diaz, the name to watch, a senior from Virginia Beach, Virginia, Lansdowne High School product, actually played with one of her teammates, Janessa Lowe, back in high school ball. But the rest of the lineup for the Marlins, Allie Greco will be between the pipes, Autumn Horst, Zion Ferguson, and Christina Inswar in there. A lot of the freshmen that have had big time early in the year. Grayson Yeager gets the start, the daughter of Chris Yeager, coach of Lynchburg men's soccer. Kaylin Seitz, Alexis Manfredi, Victoria Mills, Paige Bissell, and Alex Ortega round out the 11 for the Marlins. In similar colors to what we saw in last year's ODAC semifinal, the Marlins in their gray away jerseys, Lynchburg in all white, as we prepare for battle. And a fresh 90 on the slate, a 6 o'clock start time. The sun will be in play for a little bit longer this time around as we get things ready on Schellenberger Field. You've wanted a moment to see what these two teams are all about. We've gotten pieces of the puzzle. Today might be the biggest indicator, and we're underway here on Shelley. And immediately the Marlins capitalizing off an early turnover. Through ball snuffed out this time as Autumn Horst was already on the prowl. And Kevin, we talked about it in the open. The first few minutes of this game will be so crucial. Do you think it's more important, though, for Virginia Wesleyan, a team that has played a lot of those tough teams early in the year? You're thinking about Washington and Lee, a team they lost to 4-0. Or do you think it's this young Lynchburg crew that needs to start off hot?
Can I go with C? Both of the above, because I think it's so important for both of these squads to come out and set the tone. Honestly, whichever team can do it has the best chance to win this game, because it's been kind of one of those seasons where both squads have just been a little bit slow getting started, but they've been really, really good as the game progresses. So whoever gets that fastest start is going to have the advantage.
And it definitely feels like one of those games where you recognize its significance right away. Lynchburg, a team that has been in so many big regular season toss-ups, and they have typically won these games. It's been the postseason battles they've really had trouble with in the last few years, trying to make their way back to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2022. Pass to the middle of the field. Marlins situating themselves with possession early on. And mentioned the sun will be a big factor. Well, on the left side of the field where we have been all ready to start this contest, you will see it is completely lit. As Zoe Villarreal now creeping forward into the Hornets attacking third. Ball played out to Madeline Boyce. And a contest in the outer confines of the turf will award the Hornets with a throw.
I think this is going to be the early indicator of how Lynchburg, how aggressive they want to be in the early stages of this game.
Well, the Marlins have to kick it over the goal line. Lynchburg gets a corner. This brings up a big point of emphasis from Coach Olson. He's talked about the corner kicks and the set pieces early in the year, Kevin, and he has said this is a team unlike any other here in the last few editions of Lynchburg women's soccer, because when they get these corners, they have really capitalized.
Yeah, they have been excelling right here, and it's crazy to think that, they've missed the opportunities that they have whenever you look at what they have missed, but they've been very efficient.
This time, an in-swinger to the outside of the box. Chance for Morgan Oliver, player of the week, still having possession, but it's taken away. Marlins can't get away on the break, though. And the Hornets will get possession right back. You think about those moments. And though it is early in this contest, Lynchburg had that first half surge against Virginia Wesleyan and their last meeting back in November of 2024 as they were up 2-0 at the half. These two teams both surging. Lynchburg on a 4-game win streak. The Marlins have won 3 straight. So Tap keeps it in, but the Marlins can't regain their composure. Hornets look to the outside. Here's Ava Olsen. Tries to chip it up the field. Won't work this time.
Immediately, the Marlins, you can see pressure in Lynchburg all over the field. You saw it on the set piece, the defensive effort, and kind of turned into this possession that the Marlins have now.
Here's Cheyenne Diaz, DIY project, trying to do it herself. Olsen to the outside, clipped, and that will be a foul. Tell you what, early in the year we've talked about the numbers already, but these two teams have been nearly unblemished in situations like these. Virginia Wesleyan is 3-0 on the road. Lynchburg boasts a perfect 7-0 record in home and away games. Their lone tie and loss this season have been in neutral site affairs.
I think that just kind of speaks to that similarity that we talked about when you look at the stat sheet and the stats that we put up at the top of the broadcast. These teams are just eerily similar. It's going to be fun to see kind of which team can get the advantage.
Well, Kevin, this is a Virginia Wesleyan team that started with 5 straight home games. And so to be 3-0 on the road, a lot of that has happened recently. This is a team that has to travel a lot, especially throughout ODAC play, going all the way to the western part of Virginia. You'd figure it'd be a little bit tougher.
Yeah, and that's always a difficulty, especially when you talk about Virginia Wesleyan. That's one of their biggest selling pitches, for commits. You're on the beach, you're right there, but that's always the toughest part. But it's also what makes their home field advantage so great. So many teams travel so far to the beach to go play.
It especially helps in a sport like soccer where your postseason is not as neutral site affair. You're playing every game on a home field. Hornets want to cross. Find an open Madeline Boyce. A little tap forward. Doesn't work this time. Boyce, early in the year, her numbers haven't necessarily matched those of last year, but she has still been a threat up front. The only Hornet in double figures last year in that goal tally with 10. This year it's been the midfield that's been the selling point for this Lynchburg team. They have been so efficient with some of that passing. And last time, Kevin, when we watched this game against Randolph, the Hornets won that game 5-0. But that first half, you wouldn't be able to tell it as it was really a struggle on that passing side.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the theme so far. Even in the Randolph game, the passing wasn't as crisp as we've seen, but that's been the talking point, the selling point for this Lynchburg team. Kind of as you mentioned, the passes have just been absolutely on a dime, and it's some of those opportunities that they maybe squandered that Todd Olsen, talking to him pregame, kind of said they wanted to clean up. They wanted to get better on those opportunities, and if they do, this team can be deadly.
Soccer is all about the little things, the moments you wish you had back. And at the end of the season, when you're culminating all of the statistics and the moments, you feel like you want to have a few of those back. Lynchburg hoping to erase some of the what-ifs. Maddie Olsen, entry pass to Hargrove. So far, this has been a battle situated in the middle third. Neither team has gained a whole lot of possession, and that's probably what we expected.
Yeah, 100%. Two teams very, very equal. Just trying to fight for every edge they can get so far. Really no advantage.
Both programs led by a head coach that is the winningest coach in program history. Jeff Bowers for the Marlins. Hold that thought. Hargrove gets a shot and misses just barely with Greco down to the turf.
I think those are the type of opportunities Lynchburg is going to have to look for, especially early on, when you can kind of get that Marlin defense reeling a little bit. You saw it, really weren't ready for any sort of opportunity for the Hornets, and Lynchburg nearly able to make them pay.
Hargrove, a freshman who was just typically in the right spot at the right time, and Coach Olsen described it as she can really escalate in her dangerousness. She has just become more and more a weapon throughout the year. That time it didn't work out. But back to Jeff Bowers. This is a coach that is in his 26th season and has really helped this team propel themselves to new heights. They had their second Final Four in school history back in 2022 and just looking to get back to the same territory. The Marlins, a team that goes deep into their bench. Mentioned 20 starters already this season. Lynchburg likes to keep a tight ship and try to use those familiar names. Ferguson pressed back. Pass will find the foot of Matty Olson for Lynchburg, trying to regain. When the Marlins get off on the run, they can be really lethal. This time the pass to the middle of the field. And Diaz can't direct it. Here's Hargrove. Isolation and 4 Marlins around her. Great way to get possession and out to Boyce. Pressed out wide, now directing back in, and Ferguson gets a stab. Might we see the pace accelerate here in the next few minutes?
Yeah, an opportunity there for Lynchburg, and that's one of those whenever you're on defense, you're kind of holding your breath. When you got Madeline Boyce one-on-one outside with that track and field speed, she can really get things going in a hurry for this Hornet offense.
You got to feel like a point for the Marlins defense today will be silencing Morgan Oliver. We haven't really talked about her yet in that midfield, number 7 in white for the Hornets, but you do feel like there's so many other weapons. We've talked about Madeline Boyce, and you feel like she just hasn't had her moment this season yet.
Yeah, and you talk about how good Morgan Oliver's been with 6 points in the last 7 games for the Hornets. She has been the key focus, but it's crazy to think. We describe this team as doing it by committee. When you have a player doing it like that with a committee effort, I mean, that's what makes this Hornet team so dangerous.
A lot of options as the Marlins send this all the way forward, and Kate Shepard has her first grab of the game. Hornets keeper from Virginia Beach, Virginia, so playing against one of the hometown teams. Has started now 11 matches on the year. Goals against average is at .89 and has been very sharp and leads the conference in shutouts at 4.
Yeah, if you want to look for another bright spot on this Hornet defense especially, look no farther than Kate Shepard.
To start the year, Lynchburg rewrote a little bit of history. They tied the 1999 team for the most consecutive shutouts to begin a year. They had 4 straight and were narrowly on their way to having a 5th until Maryville scored. And the late minutes of that game, Lynchburg would still get the victory. If you're just tuning in, not a lot of separation to get this one underway. Lynchburg and Virginia Wesleyan, 2 teams that were situated in the top 3 in the ODAC preseason poll. The Marlins 8-2-1, Lynchburg 8-1-1. Olson looking to direct traffic. Will take a few steps forward and sends it on to Lauren Orner. These small passes can be so damaging. In the middle of the field, pass now up front to Hargrove. Has some separation out wide to Madeline Boyce. Looking for round 2. The cross goes in. Greco tested and cleans up comfortably. Allie Greco, a 3rd-team All-ODAC selection last year. That was in her freshman campaign where she had 12 starts, and she has been the mainstay keeper for the Marlins this season. Ferguson sends it forward. Cross all the way to the other side of the field. That was from Christina Inswar. Very young Marlins squad compared to the last few years. Goal kick for Shepard. And Kevin, you know, we talk about the narratives going back to the ODAC semifinals last year, but for these 2 teams, there are so many freshmen that a lot of them are playing in their first ever battle against the opposing squad.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so impressive whenever you look at their records and what they've done to start the season so far. You talk about how young Virginia Wesleyan is, and then on the flip side of that, Lynchburg's back line, all new this year. Whenever you look at kind of how young they are, yeah, there's not a lot of history for the rivalry between them, but they've come off to some really great starts in their collegiate careers, and this to them is an opportunity to keep it going.
And how great is the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and producing competition year after year. We know what Washington and Lee has done to begin the year. Hold that thought. Marlins ready to fire. Shepard goes left and gets the deflection. It's a Marlins corner. So much of the offense has materialized so quickly tonight, and you got to expect that's a trait of a good team to be able to prepare something out of nothing.
Yeah, and I think you saw it from both squads so far. Virginia Wesleyan kind of giving Lynchburg a taste of their own medicine. We know the Hornets like to go fast on their offensive possessions. Virginia Wesleyan not giving Lynchburg time to blink that time is going to result in a corner and an opportunity for a set piece.
Everyone shading their eyes as the corner is readying. Now up in the air, lofted, dangerous spot, goes to the far post, and Ferguson can't get her head on it. Now rolls all the way to the corner. It's up to Diaz to try and keep it in bounds. Fancy footwork, and it's tapped out. Beg your pardon, it looked like Alexis Manfredi out in the corner. Throws Sales under the box. Then Hartog tries to get it out, and here's the clearance for the Hornets. Header going backwards from Diaz. Flag goes up, and it's offsides.
Yeah, again, another opportunity. You saw the Marlins going for the long ball, trying to get into some offense super fast against this Lynchburg team who was still trying to reset from the previous possession.
Not wasting any time. Kate Shepard will take this one. Kevin, for all the teams that you could have on a day like this where the sun is preparing to set, hasn't gone down all the way, gray jerseys and blue numbers, probably one of the tougher sets you'll see all year.
Yeah, it's extremely tough. It makes it tough up here on us in the booth. I mean, we're shading with everything we have, hands, notes, hats.
That's right. Pretty color combination. The Marlins historically have been in a very good spot to compete at a high level. And you feel like this year no different, but for both of these teams, this is a big match and trying to figure out where they stand. Villarreal moves forward. Now to Boyce. These one-on-one battles, so tricky. That's a little extra contact, but it rolls out for a Marlins throw. Boyce a little frustrated.
You talk about the blue and grays. I just wanted to touch on that for a second. I think Virginia Wesleyan has the best potential with uniforms, and they show it off every year in every sport. I absolutely love their color combinations that they come out with each and every year.
For a lot of teams across Division III, you don't necessarily see gray as one of the primary colors, one that they use in almost every uniform set. Virginia Wesleyan fits the bill, always producing some nice color palettes. Lynchburg working on the far side of the field. Entry to Lauren Orner. Takes a bounce, and a foul is called. So the Hornets will have a set piece, and although it is a little far away from home, you got an opportunity here to put one in the box. Lunden Hartzog ready to fire, the freshman who has been so impactful this season. 2 goals and 1 assist in her 10 starts.
And with as talented as this midfield is for Lynchburg, you wouldn't be surprised if this ends up right on the doorstep.
Here it is, trickles through, and Fulmer can't get her foot on it cleanly. Looked like she got a decent shot, just took a quick deflection. Now Maddie Olson. Dangerous play when the Hornets can put it on a platter. Here's Morgan Oliver, mentioned it earlier, playing a little more out wide this season as opposed to that central midfield role where she occupied last season. Rogstad opts just to let this one go out on the far side, so a throw for the Marlins as they march forward. 28 minutes and counting here in this first half. No score yet from Schellenberger Field. The Hornets have defeated Virginia Wesleyan once in the regular season since 2019. That was back in the 2024 season last year. 2-0 win in Virginia Beach. Madeline Boyce and Liliana Siragoyen were the scores for the Hornets. That is certainly not the game they remember from that 2024 campaign. And when you're trying to rewrite a narrative, the best thing you can do is go out there and get a win try to flip the script. Fulmer sends it up the near touchline.
And you talk about games from that 2024 campaign. Like you said, that's not one that they usually remember, but that was such a great game. The Hornets on both sides of the ball played so amazing. But like you said, it just kind of gets overshadowed by what happened in the postseason last year.
That felt like one of those punctuation marks in the middle of a season where you had so many seniors, a lot of veteranship, and it looks way different than it looks this year. So to get a win like that, you felt pretty confident going into the postseason, and I think that's what Coach Olson's squad wants again this year, just to go into the late stages of October feeling really courageous that they can go up against anybody in the conference. How about the tackle from Hargrove? It's clean and just momentarily, but the Marlins will take possession. Both teams thought it was against them as the whistle was blown. Page Bissell out wide. Little give and go action down the near side. See another look at some of the tussles in the midfield. Michaela Hargrove never afraid to go down to the turf.
And that's just some of the physicality that's been caught. Whenever you look every inch of this field, there's been quite a few physical battles going on. And I think that's kind of going to be the theme of the night.
Hargrove picked up a goal in the first game of the season. Asserted her dominance right away as an attacker on the Lynchburg side. As the Marlins have some substitutes warming on their bench, perhaps the first changes of the game. Deflection, and the ball trickles into the midfield. Some free grass ahead. Here's the pass forward. Dangerous spot, and ready to fire. Shepard catches the line drive. Alexis Manfredi wastes no time.
And we talk about how fast these possessions happens for both teams. What was that, 5 seconds from the time the ball crossed the midfield stripe to the time it was in Kate Shepard's hands? I mean, you just can't blink your eyes whenever these teams get going in transition because they make it happen so fast.
That's what's tricky about a match like this one. You feel like it's a game that could definitely separate in a matter of moments. Villarreal enters, and one of the newcomers, Hannah Phillips, who's had some efficient minutes this season. Another substitute for the Marlins, number 4, Elena Alston. Junior midfielder who has been very solid throughout her Virginia Wesleyan career, competing in her 50th game as a Marlin.
Yeah, and if you don't know a lot about these squads, this is not a shocker. We talked about it at the top of the broadcast, 20 different starters so far this season. They're definitely a by-committee team. This is going to be something that kind of continues for their theme throughout.
Beautiful through ball, and Hannah Phillips has all sorts of space, looks to direct, and the shot is right at the goal. Maybe took too many steps and got herself into trouble.
Yeah, Evan, I mean, when you look at your screen here, this is just a beautiful dish. I mean, laid out on a dime. Opportunity here that the Hornets, more times than not, capitalize. That time just a little bit out in front.
Squandered this time, but Hannah Phillips, you feel like if she gets another chance, is going to find her way to the center of the field a little bit quicker. Tumble in the middle of the field, and the Marlins can advance. The statistical category is always interesting to watch throughout a game like this, and we mentioned coming into this one that there's not a lot of separation as Kate Shepard watches this roll all the way over. Extra substitute coming into the game for the Marlins, number 5, Stephanie Koblish from New City, New York, and the Marlins will have a corner. Down on the near side, Hornets will have to be stout defensively. Little extra aggression this time. It's a low roller to the outside. See if they take a chance. It goes left. Shepard lets it go. Almost winding to that near pipe, but not enough.
And I don't hate the set piece there. You saw the slow roller. Opportunity was set up beautifully for the Marlins. A chance to really capitalize. Like you said, just pulled it a little bit left.
That shot was the third of the game for the Marlins. Both teams knotted up at 3 apiece in that department. No score. And the third corner of the game for the Marlins. They have been efficient in getting to their spot. Tell you what, this Lynchburg team knows a thing or two about how to get corner kicks. They have just one so far today, but Kevin, just to put it into perspective, their first 3 matches of the season, they had just 5 combined corner kicks. Ever since, they're averaging about 8 per game.
Yeah, I think that just speaks volumes to how fast they get out and running. I mean, they get defenses scrambling to where those back line clearances are about the only play you have. That's so deadly because when you talk about a team that capitalizes on corner kick, Lynchburg has to be at the top of that list.
It starts with possession, and Lynchburg has dominated that statistic in several of their recent games. Look no further than the last time out versus Averett, a 9-0 win in Danville, where the Hornets outshot the Cougars 41-0. Ball pretty much stayed in the attacking third the entire game, and you're going to wound up having a few more corners than normal. In a setting like that, they put up 14.
That's probably the dream game, right? Out shooting 41-0. Capitalize on 9 of them. I think you'll take as many of those as you can get.
You don't get a lot of games like that, maybe ever, in your soccer career, and the Hornets beneficiaries in that one. By the way, congratulations to 3 Hornets on their first collegiate goals in that game. Riley Wampler, Grace Gaskins, and Samantha Mitchell. All 3 have come into the rotation later in games throughout the season. As Virginia Wesleyan has pressed back, Hornets looking to attack and perhaps catching the defense napping. But a pass goes awry and the Marlins take over. It'll actually be the Hornets that keep possession. Flag went up the other way, so now out wide to Hargrove. Spinning and trying to find any separation. Virginia Wesleyan a little bit niftier, getting down the field, and a deflection will finally award them the throw.
This is going to be one of those types of games where there's one-on-one battles that take place deep into one end of the field. Those are going to matter. If a team can come out with possession in their offensive end, you got to think one of those are going to lead to a chance. And that might be the decider of this game.
Is there a scenario where we don't see any scoring in this game? You got 2 great offenses, but on the other side of the coin, 2 very stout defenses, and you feel like defense is typically what prevails in a game like this where it's very tight in the midfield. Time will tell as Wampler dishes outside. Here's Morgan Oliver looking for the cross. It looms over. Greco punches it. The goal unattended, but it now trickles the other way. Hannah Phillips once again finding herself in a great spot. Tries to play catch up on the defensive end, and the Marlins can sneak out of trouble.
You talk about the potential of this game ending scoreless, and honestly, it wouldn't be that huge of a surprise. You know, we talk about really all broadcasts the firepower that both of these teams possess, but it's the defensive energy that has been so underrated for both of these squads. The ability to hold opponents to limited shots, not allowing the opponents to capitalize when they do get good looks. We saw a lot of that here today so far, and if the trend continues, wouldn't be surprised.
You saw that punch from Greco, and she knew right away she wasn't going to grab that cleanly, at least didn't want to chance it. Don't think Coach Bowers and company can feel too bad about that one as the ball exits quickly. Pass to the middle of the field, and a little extra contact. Wampler was staying neck and neck with Christina Inswar. And the ball files out far side. Lynchburg takes over. Series history dating back to 1999. Lynchburg has a slight advantage. But this is one of the series in the ODAC that is a little bit tighter. Lynchburg 12 wins, Virginia Wesleyan 8, and 10 draws. Ava Olson couldn't grasp it cleanly. Now it goes out wide. Opportunity and nifty footwork. Lila Wells, another one of the freshmen into the game for the Marlins, out wide from Cary, North Carolina, as Hargrove sprints but can't catch up.
If you're looking for any sort of silver lining on conditions, at least the entire field is shaded now. The sun's getting down behind the trees. Maybe we can see a little bit better. Maybe it actually cools off down on the turf a little bit.
Well, just checking the weather app earlier before the game got started, at about 5 o'clock before this game was underway, it was close to 80 degrees. It's supposed to cool down to 64 by the end of this match, and that's just fall temperatures in Virginia. Not that it'll affect the players by any stretch. It's actually going to help them out a little bit as it gets cooler into the night. Dangerous spot for the new substitute, Emma Wynn. And that name is certainly familiar to Lynchburg fans because Wynn was the game winner in that ODAC semifinal. All the way in the 89th minute, the Marlins got that final tally to make it 3-2. Just some heavy traffic in the box, capitalized in the right spot, and absolutely silenced the crowd. But as Coach Olson has alluded to this season, he says, we don't really think about that too much. We're not looking backwards. We're trying to look forward with this new vision and a new team. This win is a nice tap out wide to Cheyenne Diaz, surveying the scene and looks to go through all the way. Nobody will catch up. Shepard collects cleanly.
You talk about that answer from Coach Olson. How professional is that? But you know, for the juniors and seniors that are still in this roster, it's got to linger. And obviously you want to say, you know, new season, next game, 1-0 mentality. But when you have something like that happen, it's really good to see the response that they've had. It hasn't affected them at all coming into the new season. We saw the identity really didn't shift that much, even with all the new pieces. And coming into the game, like you said, there wasn't a lot of mention of it.
Well, partner, I'm glad you brought it up as well, because you look at a game like this, and it's impossible to completely erase what has happened in the past. But even if it's a clean game and there's not a lot of talking or scrapping, you still remember those emotions, and it's impossible to get past them. As Alston was giving chase on the near side, it's a throw in the deep corner for the Marlins. A lot of Hornet jerseys around. This throw will try to sail all the way inside, and Diaz couldn't get a clean header.
And even when you talk about, you know, all the young faces on both squads, you know, that might not have been a part of that game last year, you can best believe that there's been some sort of leadership telling them, hey, we don't like this other team. And that's on both sides of the coin, so you can believe that there's a little bit of brainwashing already going on. It's kind of feeling this rivalry even here tonight.
Especially when you've coached as long as Coach Olson has in his 32nd season. It's hard to believe that you have a lot of friends in the industry at this point. You've played everybody rather tightly. The Hornets perennially a team that can dominate at the ODAC level, and Virginia Wesleyan is no stranger to that crowd as well. Looking to go on the far side, and that's a heavy collision. Doesn't warrant any whistles, and that's just a nice tackle. Wesleyan looks for the throw. Sneaks down towards the corner, and Sammy Rogstad, the sophomore, able to get it back for the Hornets. This Hornets team is very happy to be back at Schellenberger Field. They only had one home game in a 30-day span. That was on September 24th, that 5-0 win over Randolph that we talked about. Great to have soccer on Schellenberger Field again. 5 home games in October, and that is not including what should be an extra game or two for the ODAC tournament. That's assuming the recipe matches what comes out of the kitchen. And so far, so good for a Lynchburg team that has won 80% of their matches. It
is insane to be sitting here what feels like so early in the season. We're already talking about how big of an emphasis the postseason is, knowing it's only a few weeks away. The soccer season just flies by so fast. That's why every single one of these games are so important, especially when you get into the heart of this ODAC stretch like both of these squads are at right now.
Well, soccer season definitely feels like it starts in June or July for a lot of these teams trying to get fitness early in the year. And it's definitely an interesting pace that this fall season has. September, October, and you're done, unless you can extend into the postseason. Dangerous set piece here for the Marlins. Low swinging, and a tap from Alston sends it out. It's a goal kick. Little miscommunication in the box. Marlins wanted a corner. "12 minutes to play in the first half. No score. Evan Gates and Kevin Nestor coming to you live on LHSN. A great time to be alive in the sports world. So much going on, especially at the collegiate level. We're just about a week away from the homecoming festivities. The Hornets have a very tough test ahead of them on that day, Saturday the 18th, as Washington and Lee comes into town. They got to handle the Marlins right now, and they are on the prowl. Courtney Mills, in isolation, hits the turf, and no foul. Better defense from the Hornets, who can run. Hannah Phillips clips it forward, and Ferguson able to get a foot on it. That might have actually hurt the Marlins, as now there's extra separation. Hornets, all sorts of space, and Phillips' pass goes all the way to Greco.
A couple of beautiful defensive possessions by both squads. Marlins able to kind of create a turnover in the midfield area, get the ball into their offensive possession, but Lynchburg quickly flipping the script and taking a shot on their end again. That's how fast both of these teams are. All of this happens in about a 45-second span.
Now they have extra space out wide. Can happen quickly. Lynchburg wants it too. Pass from Villarreal, middle of the field to Phillips. Runs into trouble. Marlins trying to extinguish the threat. Got to be careful. Here's Morgan Oliver. A little tugging of the jersey, trying to do everything she can to get by. I think that's in the scouting report. Ball trickles forward near touchline. Phillips, the cross, and Greco will get her paws on it. Well, Lynchburg explored every part of the attacking third. They don't have anything to show for it. Kev, we haven't really seen Morgan Oliver yet in action in a big-time spot. We've seen a few passes to her out wide, but it feels like the Marlins are just trying to get her away from the ball as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and you saw it in the last Hornet possession when she did have it. There were 2 or 3 gray jerseys right there forcing her to get it out of her possession. And again, for Lynchburg, as fast as they are rolling, it almost seems like they're overrunning some of their possessions, going too quick. When you look at some of the crosses from the outside in, just nobody there to take possession on the doorstep.
The tough question for Coach Bowers is going to be, do you foul in that case and give Lynchburg a set piece in a really tough spot? Or are you okay with Morgan Oliver trying to move forward, taking your chances with Allie Greco in goal? Here's another nifty pass forward. Hannah Phillips going to play catch up near side. Gets there with extra space. Pass goes forward, and Marlins all on it. Foul awarded. Hornets will take over, and it feels like these last few minutes, the pendulum slowly swinging Lynchburg's way.
And I think that comes with the pace of play. It seems like the last few minutes, the pace of play is really ramped up whenever we kind of look at closing out this first half. Lynchburg has just been all gas, no brakes on their end of the field.
Then Hartzog, lofted entry, makes its way forward. Tegan Casey was ready to fire, but the Marlins down in the box. They'll take over. Feels like it's fitting that this Lynchburg team likes to run, because the saying for the year, Coach Olson always has a theme coming into the new season. It's Sisu, which is a Finnish word that means, in his description, full tilt, full time. And that is exactly what this Lynchburg team is all about, trying to go out and play 90 minutes of professional soccer, doing it the right way, handling business.
Again, I think that's just another professional way of saying all gas, no brakes. And Olsen, he is great at that. Just professionalizing everything that he says.
Well, he loves going out there as well and just doing what he loves day after day.
And how can you not love it when you've had the success and you kind of talk about the recipe that he's had for building these squads and the blueprint that he's laid down? That's been really the foundation for every squad that comes through and every class that touches the turf for this Lynchburg team. They've just been a winner.
Got to be careful here. Ball is in a dangerous spot. Marlins extra tap. Alston, and Shepard gets the hand to send it over. That was a very difficult shot to save as she had to go straight up the ladder, and we remain scoreless.
An absolute beautiful shot. You couldn't have placed it on your hands any better in the goal than where that come off the foot of the Marlins at. But again, Kate Shepard, you can't talk about how good she's been in goal for the Hornets this season enough.
That's the first heartbeat moment of the game. Elena Alston almost gave the Marlins the lead. Corner's on the wrong side of the net, and Lynchburg has a goal kick.
Again, the speed at which that happened, Shepard, she had no time to make a wrong move. A wrong move there, and you're down on the scoreboard. She did everything right, played the ball right, and now she's going to get rewarded for it. Hornet possession.
From our vantage point, that looked like it was going in, and Elena Alston had a little extra velocity. Now Lynchburg starts the climb back down the other side of the field. Alston, 3 goals on the year. Has made 3 starts for the Marlins and staying up front. A lot of these moments she starts to eat up when you see some of the other attackers on the bench. Someone like Cheyenne Diaz, who really didn't have her moment to shine, and even in the last few seasons against Lynchburg has really struggled with the defenses presented by Coach Olson. Olson takes a tumble near side, a little ginger to get back up, and Alston using her speed, trying to get forward with Fulmer, goes down in the box, but no extra contact.
And again, the last 5 or 10 minutes, you can feel the energy kind of ramp up on both sidelines. Both squads getting super into it, and the pace has picked up dramatically. Both of these teams looking to go and go now.
They understand what it means to be in this position. Hornets trying to send it forward. Great clearance by Orner to stall for a little extra time. The energy is not restricted to Schellenberger Field. The volleyball team playing inside Turner Gymnasium. Men's soccer team in a neutral site affair in Harrisonburg as they take on Messiah. So far, so good for Lynchburg FloSports. They have been attacking and in a golden opportunity for later in the year. Ball trickles outside. Alston on the doorstep and sent out by Fulmer.
You talk about how much these Hornet squads are running all over the FloSports slate. Well, we got a second. I get a little shout out to LHSN. We're spread thin here today, but all 3 broadcasts running beautifully. Everything's going perfect.
You got
shout out to our
fall
guys.
break too. You know what? The students are going home for Thursday and Friday, and felt a little extra festive around campus today. You can tell when the students are ready to go spend a few days with their loved ones. Safe to say, all of these sports teams just wanting to stay in the middle of the business and do everything they can to help their chances later in the year. Game like this for Lynchburg, monumental not just in ODAC standings, but getting a quality win and trying to get that NCAA tournament resume. When you got a giant in your way like WNL, a team that beat Virginia Wesleyan 4-0, you understand. You can't just bank on winning the ODAC tournament. These 2 teams up for the challenge. It'll be a long climb as Janessa Lowe loses her footing out wide, and a nice tap. Zoe Villarreal has played brilliantly on this near side. Throw-inners. What extra pace from the Marlins, trickles forward, and Shepard on the hop. No problem.
Again, beautiful job from the Hornets there, just clogging those passing lanes, making something come from nothing. Marlins looked like they were going to have a perfect opportunity. Ended up being a little bit of a slow roller into the gloves of Shepard in between goal. Credit to the defense. Again, both of these defensive units I don't feel like get enough love considering how good their offenses are.
Villarreal enters, and it files all the way through to Greco. Tell you what, both of these keepers so far, feels like there's been one chance that has truly been a tall task. You think about Greco and that punch earlier in the game. Ball was lofted in the box, just had to do enough to send it out. And then Kate Shepard just moments ago making a great one-handed save, a line drive that was over her head. As those chances stack up, do we see more separation? Villarreal, little extra space, out wide to Hannah Phillips. Goes towards the goal line. Pass figured out this time. Villarreal going to play over the top, and great way to earn possession back. Just 2 minutes to play in a first half that has evaporated in a hurry. After 43 minutes of what has been really knotted even, I feel like a goal here would be a huge momentum breaker going into the halftime huddle. Lynchburg perhaps slowing things down for a moment. Throw goes in. Now the pass to the other side of the field. Working forward and looking for Courtney Mills. Courtney and Victoria, sisters from Lorton, Virginia. The younger Mills sister, Victoria, has started 10 matches to begin this season. Coming into this one, already seeing some of the contributions. As Morgan Oliver has a little bit of room, but she runs out of it. Deflection warrants possession to the Marlins. Here's Alston going to the near side. Ella Fulmer staying neck and neck. And a great deflection to send it the other way. 50 ticks to go in the first half. Ball continues to pinball in either direction. That's been the type of half we have seen. Neither team has really had a dominant share of the midfield. Chances on both sides. Two teams near the top of the ODAC standings with 8 wins on the season apiece. It's going to take something special to find number 9 tonight. But we have seen our fair share of special moments here on Schellenberger Field. One final chance. Marlins have possession in the attacking third, and Hannah Phillips takes over. All sorts of room. It would have to be a heave to end the first half, and that's where the action concludes. We learned everything through 45 minutes, but nothing showing up on the scoreboard. We'll take a look at stats and highlights on the other side on LHSN. We'll be right back. No score between Lynchburg and Virginia Wesleyan, but we have had a lot of action in the first 45 minutes. You see a save from Allie Greco. She was pressed into action several times in that first half, but a lot of physicality that riddles the storyline. A fantastic shot. Better save from Kate Shepard as Elena Alston tried to put one top shelf to give the Marlins the lead, perhaps the most menacing opportunity of the game so far. And back on Schellenberger Field we go. Beautiful sunset here in the Hill City, but we're at high noon of this contest through 45 minutes, 0-0. Evan Gates and Kevin Nestor walking you through the action. And Kevin, you know, we talked in between the break. Really doesn't feel like there's that much to change so far for either squad.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the scoreboard, it's 0-0, but that is absolutely not indicative of the first half that we saw. You saw both squads coming out firing really quick. 5 shots for Virginia Wesleyan, 3 for Lynchburg, and not really a bad one to see. Corners has been kind of the separation for Virginia Wesleyan, but the Lynchburg defense, you got to give them credit. They were able to shut down any opportunity that the Marlins might have had.
Well, you don't want to overemphasize any stat category, but Coach Olson did talk about trying to get set pieces in corners. And so to have one at this point of the game, you feel like Lynchburg might want to get more of those. But instead of having those corner kicks out wide, we've seen a lot of opportunities for the Hornets where they're going more to the middle of the field.
Yeah, their midfield action has been really prevalent, especially in that first half whenever you see the kind of the setups that they had and the motions that they had. But I think on the flip side of that, you got to give Virginia Wesleyan a lot of credit. They came out maybe not expecting that, but they adjusted super fast. You saw a body in almost every pass lane in the first half for the Marlins, and it kind of turned into some good offensive sets for them.
This is not the easiest part of the schedule for Lynchburg, and they are going to have 4 straight games of a lot of pressure like the one you've seen today. Virginia Wesleyan on the docket tonight, and then it's at Randolph-Macon on Saturday versus Shenandoah next Tuesday, and then Washington and Lee for homecoming. You're talking about 4 teams that look to be in the top 8 of the ODAC standings come the end of the season to qualify for that ODAC tournament. You feel like, you know, you're seeing a big sample of who you might be seeing in some of those later games of the year.
Yeah, we always say at the beginning of the season, you know, take the preseason poll with a grain of salt. But I think especially in women's soccer in the ODAC, they got it, you know, pretty right. I mean, pretty accurate. You look at where these 2 teams come in top 3 right now. They're sitting 2nd and 4th in the conference through this part of their schedule. And the schedule does get tougher, but I think these are 2 of the best teams the Old Dominion Athletic Conference has to offer.
Last year, these teams combined for 22 wins. Neither made the NCAA tournament. Aspirations turn for this season where they hope to have a brighter horizon. Will that surge start today? We'll have to wait and see. Marlins and Hornets squared away at 0-0. Lynchburg had the lion's share of free space in that first half as the flag goes up. Dan Hartog will clear anyways. But you do feel like the Marlins, with some of those chances in the final 10 minutes, really felt like they were on the right page.
Yeah, and I don't think it's often that both squads go into the halftime break kind of happy with where they're at. And in a 0-0 game, that might not be the case in most cases. But here tonight, I think both squads were pretty happy with where they set it at halftime. They were able to kind of withstand the fire that the other team brought at them offensively, and they played really, really good defensively. I think that's just something both squads are going to continue to build on to try to find that crack in the defensive armor of their opponent.
And no doubt you're going to have frustration. We've seen a lot of passes go awry in the midfield, but that's just a testament to some of that physicality we talked about.
And I think missed opportunities, you know, were prevalent on both sides. You know, Virginia Wesleyan had a couple, Lynchburg had a couple, but a lot of that is credit to the pressure on the ball defensively that both of these squads had. It's really tough whenever you're moving so fast on the fly with the up-tempo that both of these offensive have to be perfect every time.
Rogstad centers the pass. Now Chance, fancy footwork for Oliver, takes a long shot. Greco holds on down to the turf, but that is the trademark shot that Morgan Oliver has made a living with way outside the 18, and she always has the green light.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the ODAC Offensive Player of the Week, Morgan Oliver, that right there will tell you who she is in a nutshell. I mean, she is quick, and she can really make you pay from anywhere on her half of the field.
An opportunity on frame. And Kevin, you mentioned that you're looking for perfection. You're not always going to get that in the soccer climate, but this Lynchburg defense at home has been perfect this year. 3 shutouts pitched and really dominant defensively. If you look at the goal advantage between their 3 opponents, they're outscoring them 10-0 on Schellenberger.
Yeah, and that's just, credit we talk about, especially at the start of the season. How was this young defensive core going to play together with so many pieces of the veteran presence being lost for the Hornets? And all these freshmen and first years stepped in and just kind of picked up right where the defensive core left off from last season. It was fun to watch.
Never a seamless transition. You always hear coaches use that phrase, and it's hard to believe that any team has a perfect change. But Lynchburg has done well to just find those missing pieces. And they've come through in a big way as, wow, that is a big-time challenge, middle of the field. Ava Olson shaken up as she went down to the turf. Looks like she's holding her arm or elbow.
Yeah, that was a lot of contact right there. It looked like, for a second, maybe a piggyback ride into a chokehold.
Olson struggling to even lift her arm right now, and very rarely do you see her get that animated. Now just trying to hang on. We'll see if Coach Olson goes to a substitute.
I think she was pleading her case to the ref, but I don't think there was much to plead. We saw it all. You can see it in real time. Very hard tumble, a lot of contact right there. And the refs have been letting both squads play with a little bit of physicality, but that one right there definitely over the edge.
Coaching staff tries to keep her in for now. Hargrove a tap to go back towards the box. Now fires inside. Gonna linger in the middle. Hornets go down, but nothing extra. Some of those challenges you see that aren't necessarily on the ball be a little tricky for referees to discern. This time it hits the referee. Hornets were advancing forward, so they'll take their chance and pin the Marlins defense back.
Yeah, that possession, Olsen was running kind of gingerly with that left arm that she fell on, but she just gave the thumbs up to Coach Todd Olsen, saying she's okay.
Greco able to get this one cleanly and had her ankle swiped. So that's going to be the first card of the contest. Lauren Orner maybe trying to make a little late challenge. And great point as Riley Wampler was walking towards the center of the field ready to enter the game, and after the thumbs up, she walked right back and put the penny back on. Off the initial reaction, did not look like Olsen would be able to stay in, but a trooper doing everything for her team, as has Morgan Oliver. Going out wide, sniffed out, and it's a Hornets throw.
Yeah, and Olsen, that just kind of speaks to the trust that these players have with their head coach, and I'm sure it definitely helps when you both share the last name.
That's right. Always a trademark, line drive, and Greco has no problem. That's a cross that, if it's just a touch higher, is going to be very difficult for the Marlins defense to maneuver.
It's another one of those opportunities you see Lynchburg in the perfect position, just a little bit off. But again, you got to credit that to this fast pace of play and the way that Marlin defense has been responded.
Hornets relentless in the first stage of the second half. Trying to win the challenges in the midfield this time. Ava Olsen is going to be credited with the foul. Just saw the yellow card issued to Lauren Orner. Virginia Wesleyan trying to move forward. Now Maddie Olsen finds the escape route on the far side. This Virginia Wesleyan team swept the Coach of the Year, Player of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year awards in 2023. Washington and Lee did it last year. Marlins trying to get back in the conversation. Diaz puts the pass forward, and the Hornets clear. Really a triangle of death at the top of the ODAC between those three perennial powerhouses. And though one team made the NCAA tournament last year in WNL, you feel like an aspiration for multiple is always there. And that's not just women's soccer. That's every fall sport. Oliver was ready to move forward, and a little extra action from Mills to send it over the touchline. Here is Oliver, one-on-one, trying to get to the goal line, ready for the cross. Bobbles a few steps, and the Marlins defense comes up clutch. Talked about Morgan Oliver and what she did in that ODAC Player of the Week campaign. First accolade for either of these squads this year. 4 goals and 3 assists in the past 2 games and scoring in 6 of the past 7 matches. Highest goal total for last year was Madeline Boyce's 10, and Oliver has already gotten to 8 on the season. It was a quick climb, and with 3 of those games back-to-back road trips, you feel like we haven't been able to talk about what she has brought to the table. Hornets on the break now. Dangerous spot. Warner to Oliver, the midfield connection. One-on-one again. Tries to find the step forward, and the cross deflected. Narrowly a throw just left of the flag.
And those are the opportunities I think Lynchburg is going to look to come with. I think that's probably the conversation that they had at halftime. You've got to get 7 more involved. You've seen it often here in the early stages of the second half.
It helps that she's on our side of the field as Hargrove tries to cross on the ground. Lofted out of play. Corner for Lynchburg. Golden opportunity. Oliver ready to put it in the box. Hornets need this. Crossed to the far pipe. Greco goes up. Falls harmlessly to the other side. Mentioned how Lynchburg is trying to get more corner kicks in the second half. Had just 1 in the first 45 minutes. Pass a little too tall. Hornets take over.
Lynchburg definitely showing some more aggression, kind of controlling time of possession so far early in the second half. You've been the aggressors so far. We'll see if the Marlins can respond on this possession.
Perfect example of getting out of position, though, is now when you're advancing so far forward, got to be careful to watch the back door. Diaz, pass outside. Ready for the entry. Shepard able to get there. What looks like it was going to be a laser of a cross. Ended up taking a late touch.
I think that's what both of these squads have done great so far throughout this game, just getting a body into those lanes, whether it be shot lanes or passing lanes. And a shot right there that you thought was going to be a cannon took a deflection, and Shepard in goal didn't have to work too hard for that one.
Kaylin Seitz has a second chance. Sniffed out by Rogstad, all sorts of space. The Marlins only have 3 back, and she's going to take it all the way. Pass forward to Hargrove. Open opportunity. Look at the numbers. White jerseys filing forward. Here's the chance. The cross, and back to Greco. Don't know if that was intentional. The Marlins defense able to bring it right back to their keeper.
Yeah, it looked good, but I think just a few inches off, and if that was intentional, it could have gone the other way.
See Madeline Boyce playing more on the outside. Mentioned how her services have changed from last year, where she was more of a primary goal scorer. She's been more of a facilitator and helping this team out. That cross was almost the first tally of the game, but still scoreless. Approaching the 60-minute mark. Oliver down to the turf. She is so good in those one-on-one scenarios.
I think for Lynchburg, what you're going to see, obviously I'm going to talk about it a little bit more now that they're on our near side and we can see them a little bit, but Sammy Rockstead and Morgan Oliver, those have kind of been the staples of this team, and you see them almost everywhere on the field, at least one of them. And they're on that possession. You saw them kind of feeding back and forth to each other. I think that's the key to get this spark going for the Hornets.
And it's not always the aggressor that prevails. You saw it was almost a defensive miscue. This is a beautiful lofted cross that goes over. Hornets have another corner. Wow, that was almost perfectly placed. Marlins trying to make sure that they can maybe catch someone napping and get them off sides. Look at how long it hung in the air. Looked like Ferguson went down to the ground, just trying to get it out. Another corner for the Hornets. Delivery placed right in front of the keeper. Goes straight up in the air. Dan Hartog trying to have the header to move it forward. Ava Olsen now far side. All sorts of trouble, but the Marlins find their way out.
Yeah, those are the opportunities that Coach Olsen talked about. You know, they were good at. But they're, so far in this game, they have been shut down on the doorstep. No opportunities for the Hornets.
They're definitely getting the window a little more open here in the second half.
I like the aggressive play and talking about at the top of the broadcast. Both of these teams, but Lynchburg especially, is such a great second half team this season. It seems like that's been the talking point so far. They start off slow, but when they find that fifth gear, they kick it in and don't look back.
And the numbers support it. When you look at some of the games throughout the year, especially here on Schellenberger Field, a game against New Jersey City where it was a 3-0 contest by the end. Took a little while for the scoring to materialize. Think about these other games like that Randolph affair, 1-0 at the half. Hornets didn't exactly have control possession, at least in terms of passing in that midfield. Became a problem and they quickly extinguished it. Better tap, Marlins on the goal line. Somehow the ball squirts in the opposite direction, and it's a throw for Virginia Wesleyan. Seitz has been one of the main contributors here in the second half, 13 in gray and blue. Ball centered in the middle of the box. Diaz trying to find her way in. Is it a long shot? Hargrove looking to get possession back. Doesn't have many options around her. This could be a very dangerous moment if either team is caught napping. More transition back and forth. Here's Morgan Oliver. Stays on the prowl. Extra defense going to the near side. Moving opposite side of the field. Pass forward. Madeline Boyce inching towards the goal line. Takes a deflection, and another corner is earned.
Yeah, and again, you talk about you can't get caught napping. Both of those possessions by the Marlins and the Hornets happening so fast. The ball getting moved all across the pitch at such a high energy. You're seeing both of these squads pick the tempo up in the second half. Just looking to kind of, as I mentioned earlier, crack that armor, find somebody napping, and make them pay. Seems like one goal might be all the momentum that's needed for this one.
Two substitutes for the Hornets wait on the sideline. Another corner entry on its way. In swinging from Rogstad. Header pops it up. Greco goes upstairs. Keeps the ball on the right side of the line. So we play on with scoreless soccer through 60 minutes. And hard to believe that the last half an hour would present anything other than what we've seen so far. It has been tough play in the midfield. Both teams fielding chances, but neither able to capitalize.
Yeah, 100%. When you talk about how that first half ended, it just felt like there was a switch flipped. The energy picked up on both sides, both teams playing aggressive, super physical, and that kind of picked right up in the second half. You saw it early, and it hasn't died down yet. I don't think it will as this game continues on.
Pace has definitely accelerated, and these are two mastermind coaches who have seen just about everything that the sport can offer. As Hargrove trying to find separation. So the first blueprint typically doesn't result in the official house. You got to go through a few additions and edits. And in a game like this, that might not even be enough. Will be a very interesting picture if these two teams see each other in late October again for an ODAC semifinal, perhaps a championship bout. Hard to believe that Washington and Lee will drop from that one line. Lynchburg certainly wants to battle with them. That'll be a game coming up on the schedule. In fact, the Hornets have to play the two teams that have beaten Virginia Wesleyan this year, Washington and Lee and Mary Washington. Not easy opponents. Mary Washington will be the final non-conference affair for the Hornets. Wampler looking for space in the midfield, and the Marlins ready to take over. Just haven't been able to establish that position in the attacking third, and Lynchburg has really owned the second half in that regard. Sammy Rogstad not afraid to run. Goes out to Oliver. Mills working well out wide. Oliver even better. The cross lofted. Greco has to be careful. They were prowling just steps away from the first goal.
I think that's Lynchburg's best opportunity so far in this game. It worked so well, and Talk about great passing. Morgan Oliver putting that one in a beautiful spot. Just inches away from cracking the scoreboard here in this one.
She had a tension on that right shoulder the entire time she was moving forward and still found a way to get that cross up in the box and in a pretty good spot. Physicality mounting at this point as Warner trying to connect out wide. Elena Alston awaits on the sideline for the Marlins, someone who had a big-time contribution in the first half, maybe the best chance of the game, as Diaz takes a shot. Whistle happens first. Looks like we'll head the other way. Cheyenne Diaz, the player to watch for Virginia Wesleyan. Pretty silent so far, Kevin, and I think it's more a testament to Lynchburg's defense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the game so far has just been both teams playing on that double-edged sword where you have to go fast to get your opportunities. It just presents that opportunity for mistakes when you play so fast. But you can't be patient because of how good these defenses are and the amount of pressure that they apply, both on ball and off ball. It makes things so hard when you're trying to run a patient offense, so you have to run that up-tempo without making mistakes.
Keyword, without making mistakes. Both of these teams have done very well at limiting damage, hence the reason that they have combined for 13 clean sheets this year. And you think about some of these last games, they've been wins, but they've been dominant defensively. And when you look at Virginia Wesleyan, who beat Shenandoah 4-0 back in Virginia Beach, yes, they had a shot advantage. Cheyenne Diaz, by the way, had a hat trick within an 11-minute span. She's had a lot of accolades in her career. Don't think she had checked that one off the box, but it still comes down to how well the Marlins defended.
Yeah, when you talk about someone like Cheyenne Diaz, she's been quiet so far, not a lot of talking points to this point. I can promise you, it just takes a blink of an eye to get her going. And whenever she does, it can be hard to stop.
Alston substituted in the game for Seitz. If you're just tuning in here in the Hill City, Lynchburg in the white, Wesleyan in the gray. And the Marlins just trying to find any sort of possession here at this stage of the second half. It has been back and forth relatively for the majority of this game, but Lynchburg has inched forward in that category. And now looking at some of the other stats, you feel like they've got a chance to be right there neck and neck. Marlins out shooting the Hornets 6-4, just 10 combined shots.
I think defensively that says a lot, again, but to both of these teams only allowing 10 combined shots. But those 10 shots, they haven't been bad shots either. The offenses have had their opportunities. It's just a matter of capitalizing. And we've seen just a few of those shots be inches away from cracking this one open.
6 of the combined 10 have been on frame. So that point validated, and I mean, it passes the eye test, right? You know, we've watched this entire game, and it just feels like we're getting closer and closer. Alston using that speed to move forward. Now isolation right outside the box, and better defense once more. Charlotte Gant, the senior forward from Atlanta, and the game 41 in gray and blue. Here's Alston, one-on-one, earns attention from Rogstad, and a deflection gives the Marlins a corner.
Another opportunity for a corner for the Marlins, and that's the stat that they dominated 4-1 over the Hornets in the first half. Was unable to capitalize rather in the first half. We'll see if they draw up here.
Doesn't it feel tactical to wait to insert Elena Alston until now, because her speed is really growing exponentially when you see the other players tired?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, she's fresh when you've got everyone on the field, but when she comes in,
just a lightning bolt. Watch out, right on the doorstep. Another corner, and the deflection just narrowly missed that pipe. Looks like the Hornets got ahead on it.
Again, I think we're seeing the best opportunities for both of these squads right here in the last couple of minutes. Right here, just inches off from finding the back of the net.
Shepard might have even used her gloves to get it out of trouble. Second entry, moves outside a little more. Shepard goes into action. Brilliantly timed off her line.
Again, just a statement to what this game has been. A beautiful corner set piece by the Marlins. That's the best opportunity that you could possibly ask for. I mean, the header was right there, but Shepard just intercepting it, giving some life to this Hornet squad, keeping this one knotted up at Neal.
This Lynchburg team has been very aggressive in the box throughout the year. Coach Olson talks about how he has a lot of athletes who can go out there and get headers, earn opportunities offensively. You wonder if that translates to the defensive side, because when you're pinned back and you're moving in an opposite direction, it can be a little bit tougher. Clearance out the near side. Substitute for Lynchburg, readying to enter the game, Ava Olson. Good to see her back as she took a tough tumble earlier in the second half. Looked to be the elbow or the wrist that she was holding. Morgan Oliver. Back to Olson. And the Hornets expanding their territory.
It's probably the most patient we've seen Lynchburg be in the game so far. And again, that's the reason you can't get patient. Virginia Wesleyan defensively flying everywhere makes things so hard on offense. You can't get anything going in the midfield area just because of the amount of bodies that are swarming to the ball.
Whistle blown for potential injury. Middle of the field, one of the Marlins hit the turf, walking gingerly, but looks like everything is okay. And what helps Lynchburg out in the speed department, you look at someone like Elena Austin, who has really been around the field in a hurry for the Marlins attack. Lynchburg has Zoe Villarreal on that back line, who used to be a forward. She's very quick, playing on the other side of the field. And then Sammy Rogstad, the other back, who is all over, and she has made several advances up into the attacking third.
I tell you what's been so impressive for both of these teams is just kind of how they manage the ebbs and flows so far through the game. I mean, you'll see it 1 second they're on offense looking at quick strike, and then all of a sudden their backs are against the wall on the other end of the pitch. But they've been able to manage it. It's both squads managing this game perfectly so far.
Greco gathers just north of 20 minutes to play. How do you characterize this one, Kevin? You saying, is it inefficient offense or is it just better defense tonight?
I think the defense has just been phenomenal, and you could kind of figure that from how much we talked about the offensive firepower at the top of the broadcast. But we kind of undersell these defenses with how good the offenses are. You can't give love to everyone in a 5-minute talking segment, but these defenses are stellar, and I think they're putting that on display tonight.
Tested more and more in every moment. Somehow that pass from Hannah Phillips snuck through to the other side. So the Hornets move forward. Now the entry out wide, and Virginia Wesleyan will handle it out for a goal kick.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you can chalk this one up to inefficient offense just because of some of the chances we've seen from both of these teams. I mean, the goalies have had to work in this one. That's credit to the offense.
Two goalies that you can expect to be in the all-conference considerations as we go later into the year. Allie Greco and Kate Shepard. Two of the main faces in the conference who just continue to impress.
And they are absolute staples for their respective programs. I don't think either team has the success that they have without them two in between the pipes.
Two very different stories as well. Allie Greco, someone in her sophomore season, got 12 starts as a freshman, just played in her 25th collegiate match. She's getting a lot of experience. Kate Shepard has had to wait. You go back to the last few years and some of the Hornets starters. They have been very impressive. Meredith Bowers last year, keeper number 1 for Lynchburg, traditionally started every match, and Shepard was getting time when it was seen and later in games.
And I think that tells you a lot about the talent that Greco has and the amount of trust that this team has in her to come in to such a good team and a good roster as a freshman and play such impactful minutes and bolster her start numbers.
Especially making her way to an ODAC championship match. Ball centered for Wampler. Beautiful pass. North to south. Hornets have numbers. Forward to Hargrove. And it's just bobbled off the foot. Perhaps that was the moment. Greco had to go down to the turf to make the save to her right. Maybe the best pass we've seen on Schellenberger Field all season.
Yeah, a couple of great passes setting up the opportunity for Lynchburg, and that, I think you can chalk that one up as an inefficient shot. Maybe the only one we've said today. When you have this much room to work with.
It was the composure of the Hornets, just knowing when to start that run. Almost got in behind, and the Marlins very thankful right now for Ali Greco between the pipes. Sometimes, as a keeper, you're expecting a lightning bolt in your direction and you dive a little early. Greco just allowed it to materialize and had no problem. See some of the students on the far side of the field getting a little extra attention in the waning minutes of this one. Shepard pressed into action, a collision one-on-one. Virginia Wesleyan perhaps getting a little fancy, and no whistle that time. Charlotte Gant, mentioned the name earlier.
But again, within the same minute on the scoreboard, both goalies getting their numbers called on. That's how quick things can happen when you've got these two firehouse offenses.
Look at the speed of Diaz out wide. Tries to reverse, moving inside. No can do. Hornet down far side of the box. Shot goes over the crossbar. And looks like we'll give some attention for an injury timeout. Zoe Villarreal standing, signals off the AT crew. Looked like it was Ella Fulmer, the freshman on the far side. Just a very tough tumble, and back to the point we've talked about earlier. Lots of aggression. At this juncture, 17 fouls between the two teams. And as we said, don't expect much to change in the final 16 minutes. Both blueprints have held up pretty nicely. And as we unwrinkle the final picture, it feels like it's going to come down to the final few minutes.
Yeah, for this to be 0-0, it was 15 minutes to go in this contest, and you would not believe the energy if we told you. You know, you'd have to see it. They've been playing 110% since the first whistle of the game.
At our middle of the field, and Fulmer ends up being the recipient of some contact as well. Coach Olson fired up after that one. Three clean sheets in the last 4 wins for Lynchburg, trying to make it a 5-game win streak. Virginia Wesleyan has had 2 shutouts in their 3 games won. And now the referee coming down to the sideline to talk to Coach Olson, hand on the shoulder, and saying, you know what, we're going to take care of this, because Coach Olson had been adamant for a few minutes.
That was the most fired up I've ever seen Coach Olson. He was able to hear it through the window here in the press box. Someone's going to get hurt was his message, and that's what prompted the ref to come over. But again, Coach Olson, you never see him that fired up on the sideline. Something's going on that he doesn't like.
Perhaps with more of a young back line, you pay more attention to it as well. Pass forward to Tegan Casey, has space on the edge of the box. Weaving out of traffic, and the Hornets keep possession in the attacking third. Cross goes over. Now back to recover. Sammy Rogstad, a miscommunication as the clearance is there. We've got a good one on Schellenberger. Under 15 minutes to play, no score yet between 2 of the top teams in the ODAC.
Yeah, I think a good one undersells it. This has been a great one so far, and I think this one's going to shape up to be a classic. These final 15 minutes or so.
Greco sends the punt all the way onto the track, so Hornets take over.
It's 0-0 right now, and it has been obviously all game, but the energy's been there. I wouldn't be surprised to see one of these squads really turn the temperature up here in just a few minutes.
As it start with Morgan Oliver out wide. Fancy footwork again, and down to the turf after she sent the cross in. Perhaps the same message from Coach Olson. And how about the recovery effort from Wampler? That one-on-one battle has been one to watch throughout the evening between Mills and Oliver. And it seems like Morgan Oliver is just getting more and more confident. It goes back to her days in the summer, playing with the Richmond Ivy. Someone who is really consistent in her approach and just getting better and better in this junior campaign. Rogstad goes out wide, and here is Oliver. Right back to business. Mills retreating. And Hornets want to go middle of the field. Brilliant connectivity in the midfield for now. Ava Olsen retreats, and the pass goes away. Casey loses it. Virginia Wesleyan squad took just 5 shots versus W&L in that 4-0 defeat. Really the toughest loss of the year. Right now they're at 8 against Lynchburg and no score on the board. But as we said earlier, not as much about the lack of offense in this affair as it is just better defense. Hargrove and Orner return onto the field, so Lynchburg looking a little bit more like their starting rotation. Maddie Olsen hits the bench, one of the silent killers for this Hornets team. She does so well defensively in that midfield, containing a lot of the heavy hitters. Rogstad, quick throw in. Hargrove ponders out wide, and Oliver can't contain it.
That's one of the very few miscues that you'll see from Oliver. Such a skilled player, and like you said, we haven't really called her number as much, especially in that first half. And that's just credit to really good isolation defense, kind of shutting her down. But you see, it's so tough to keep her down for a full 90 minutes.
Clock continuing to wane. Referee taking a quick pause. And now there will be a chat down on the field, so we will wait and go down some of the stats. Virginia Wesleyan occupying an 8-5 advantage in the shots category. They also have 6 corners to Lynchburg's 3. But all told, still very narrow margin separating these two squads. Here's Hargrove going towards the goal line, and Lynchburg has themselves, going to be a goal kick. Looked like it took a late deflection off Mills, but she shepherds it out. Lynchburg undefeated when out shooting their opponents. Right now, that is not the case here on Schellenberger. They've scored at least 3 goals in 5 games this year. All of those have been wins. So you're thinking about all these offensive categories, and you just want to advertise it because it goes to show that these two teams have really cranked through that non-conference slate. Combined 16-3-2 between these two teams. Sent out wide by the Marlins. Just over 10 minutes to play. Coach Olsen mentioned it in the pregame chat. He said it's going to have to take a big finish, a big moment to separate these two teams. And Kevin, don't you feel like that one moment would be enough to decide this one?
Yeah, and you can almost feel the energy shaping up for it. Either one of these squads, you just kind of get that feeling and the energy that something big is going to happen. And again, we've also felt like that for the first 80 minutes with the way these two teams have played.
Greco down to the turf, handles that one comfortably. Feels like we've seen jabs thrown the entire fight. And one heavy hit would be a knockout punch. Obviously, as we said, this might not be the last time that these two teams see each other this season. And the regular campaign, you see every team once. Get an opportunity to figure out a lot about yourself at this time of the year. Coach Bowers right now on the sideline instructing Alston and Diaz, his two forwards, and a little bit of frustration there as well. You feel like for as good of possession that the Marlins have had throughout this game, they just haven't had a chance to even finish. Two coaches that care so passionately about these programs. They've helped construct the success in their respective cities. Marlins trying to thread it through. Any way necessary to move down the field as Ella Fulmer now pressing back and gets the ball out of play. This Marlins team will have a lot of road travel to end the year for the final 5 games on the road. So to go to the Hill City on a Wednesday night and a late return to campus, you don't want to leave without securing what you are after. That victory would be so impressive on the score sheet, especially in ODAC implications. Think about wanting to host an ODAC game in that semifinal. Cross threads through to the other side. Here comes Den Hartog. Pass out wide. Oliver runs into trouble. All sorts of attention and great defense from Virginia Wesleyan. Still unable to get it. Den Hartog down to the turf behind the play and sniffed out by the Marlins. Under 8 minutes to go. Oliver redirects, and the pass disrupted.
And Oliver, the whole possession there, you saw her kind of get the attention of 3 gray jerseys all the way down the field. That's the kind of respect that she's earned.
Coach Bowers was fired up on the sideline, talking to his 2 star forwards, Cheyenne Diaz and Elena Alston. They both entered the match with 7 minutes to find the deciding goal. We'll see if anything changes for the Marlins. Perhaps they want to go a little more up-tempo because Lynchburg has slowly but surely started to secure the majority of possession in the midfield. Doesn't matter who for the Marlins. As we said last year, their leading goal scorer, Diaz, only had 6. It was truly a committee effort up and down the page. 10 different players had multiple goals. Just feels like they haven't had that chance to shine tonight. Rogstad sends the pass forward to Orner. Playing keep away in the middle of the field. Out wide, here's Oliver. He's been trying to solve this puzzle all game long. The pass threads all the way through. Greco will take care of it.
Solid effort there, but again, you saw as soon as Oliver touches the ball, the attention, 3 gray jerseys coming over. 1 on-ball pressure, the other 2 making sure they clog those passing lanes, allow nothing by them. And the star player of the Hornets.
Alston trying to keep possession, has it ripped away. Great defense from the Hornets. Trying to press forward, Lauren Orner sends the pass to Hargrove and right by her foot. That'll be frustrating for the coaching staff. Hornets get it right back. Olsen enters into Hargrove, ready to turn. Pass sniffed out. Now they want to go forward. Alston can't catch up. Who wants to take advantage of what's been placed in front of them?
Credit to the Marlins defenses. That's 3 possessions in a row. The Hornets really trying to drive in deep into their territory. And the Marlins clogging those passing lanes, allowing nothing by them, creating turnovers, and giving themselves a chance on offense.
Lynchburg likes to live out wide. That's been an avenue that has been locked down throughout this game. Perhaps now is a difference maker as the Hornets get another corner.
It's that opportunity. You feel the pressure mounting all game. You felt the energy rise and rise and rise, waiting on one of these opportunities. A corner with less than 5 minutes left. A golden opportunity for Lynchburg.
The weight of all 90 minutes starting to press on this moment. Claps from the sideline. Rogstad sends it in. Middle of the mixed in. Hartzog just narrowly misses. Went left and perfectly placed, but beyond the pipe.
Beautiful set piece. You'll see Rogstad throws an absolute dime up in the air, and Hartog, probably the tallest player on this Lynchburg squad. I mean, inches away from breaking this one open and giving Lynchburg what could have potentially been the game-winning goal.
Kevin, you gotta feel like that would have secured it. Emma Wynn re-entered the contest for Lila Wells, and we mentioned that Wynn last year, that game winner in the 89th minute. Action at any time in these 90 minutes could result in what we have watched the entire game. That goal hasn't been on the board, and both teams are still chasing it. Throw for the Marlins, and perhaps they're trying to steady their heartbeat a little after the last encounter. Morgan Oliver takes over, pass to Hargrove. Didn't have much space with a lot of the defense right in front. Diaz on the advance, and the Hornets take it back over. Mills going back to the other side. Sends it out to Seitz. One-on-one with Rogstad. Likes to go towards the touchline, now working to the corner. A cross under the foot, and out for a Marlins corner. Lynchburg had their stab. Now Virginia Wesleyan has a chance.
Absolutely. Take everything I just said on the opposite end about energy and momentum builders and apply it right here. The Marlins with a chance of their own to claim this one.
Occupying that goal line, all beyond the far post. The entry is in. Sniffs out the other side. Low roller. Candidates in the box. Nobody finds it. Frustration on one side and comfort for the other. Alston trying to chip away. Ball finds the far touchline. Lynchburg sending all those folks forward, and this is the chance with Villarreal from the back line. Pass just outside the 18.
Feels like that's been the detriment of the Lynchburg offense, those passes just outside of the edge. But again, it's so hard to make those so clean whenever you've got the pressure that the Marlins are applying. They've done it all game. Great clogging those passing lanes. Absolutely making Lynchburg work for it.
No 2-minute timeout in this sport. And you feel like all that aggression is going to be sent into the final 120 seconds. Lynchburg wants to take their chance. Hargrove searching to be the difference maker. Don't necessarily need a hero. Do need the ball in the back of the net. Could be by committee. Olsen ready to fire. Pass disrupted. This time Villarreal. Extra velo, but no can do. Finds the gloves of Greco. At any stage of this match, the chance you have could be the last. See which team wants to have the ball in the final seconds. Collision, and the referee will blow the whistle in favor of the Marlins. We have learned a lot about these two teams through 89 minutes. Feels like there has been no separation. A goal would tent the entire storyline. Austin and the Marlins wanted a foul called. Instead, the ball goes all the way to the other side. Throw along the near touchline and out. And still Virginia Wesleyan throw. Everybody pressing for the final minute. And here's Cheyenne Diaz. Trying to be the hero. Weaves in and out. Outside the 18, an extra tap. Runs under the Lynchburg defense. Still moving forward. 20 seconds to go. Through traffic, and the ball is on the goal line. Flag up. That will likely do it in the Hill City. Kate Shepard wants one final chance, maybe a heave from midfield. As we thought, no separation between these two teams. We're not going to see it on the scoreboard either. A 0-0 draw through 90 minutes of play. Well, Kevin, it was the regular season, and you see a lot of the highlights on your screen, the opportunities that were taken, that were blown, that were all over the place. You feel like if you see this energy now, early in October, a postseason meeting would just be as appetizing as ever.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that second half felt like it was do or die for the seasons. You know, both squads coming out and playing with such energy and such effort. But again, just to kind of circle on what you said, we saw it at the start of the broadcast when you compare the stats. These teams were eerily similar, and we said that. I mean, these teams are, you look at every stat, so close together that it's not funny. And for as exciting and as much energy as that game had, it ends in a 0-0 tie. That's probably the most competitive and fun non-scoring affair I think I've ever seen.
You know what? A lot of folks will look at a game like this and say, oh, you really can't take anything from it. I think the complete opposite. These two teams recognize they're still in the fight. There is a lot to clean up, and especially with some of the midfield passing, you see this Lynchburg team has area for growth. But you've got to love the play of some of your star players. Look no further than Morgan Oliver. She was sensational in that second half, creating separation on the outside.
Yeah, I think that's the most exciting thing you can take away from a game like this. I mean, these are two of the top 4 teams in the conference. They are super talented, but they're going to walk away from this in a tie knowing we have a lot of things we can clean up. And that's got to give you, as a coach, that's got to give you the utmost confidence in your team that when postseason rolls around, if you get those things cleaned up, I mean, you have a wide open window to go take this open ODAC.
It was a hard fight, and for both teams, the freshmen are realizing this is what ODAC play is all about. It was high contention, high pressure, but no score to go with it. 0-0 through 90 minutes. And a big thanks to you at home for staying tuned with us. A 6 o'clock start time, a little bit earlier than normal, and a ton of fun here on Schellenberger Field. We will be back very soon as there are 5 home games here in October for the Hornets women's soccer squad. We hope you'll tune in for the rest. Big thanks to Vito, Tristan, Micah, and Grayson for making the broadcast happen on LHSN. Fantastic work as always. He is Kevin Nestor. I'm Evan Gates, and so long from the Hill City.